Shalom. I'm Rabbi Kefa, one of the rabbis here at African Israel, and welcome to the Lion's Den. Today we'll be discussing the Ten Commandments. But before we get into Ten Commandments, I think it's very, very important that we get to understand that we must have the proper tools to understand. And one of the brilliant tools that are out there, all praise be to the Most High for these scrolls, are the Hidden Truth Hebraic scrolls. Now, I know a lot of you may have already purchased these scrolls, but for those of you who haven't, these scrolls are authored by the Levite, the priest, Rebbe Simon Altab, the right ruling Rabbi Simon Altab. You can purchase these on Amazon.com. Also, they come in many different varieties. The one I'm holding up now, as you can see how thick it is the 66 canonized books by the Catholics. But you can also get the Tanakh, you can get the Torah, you can also get it in a bigger font for those of you who have eye problems and difficulty reading. On Amazon, they're only available in paperback. So if you want hardback, then you can go to Lulu, Lulu.com, and you can purchase the scrolls there as well, and to get a hardback version. Okay, so understand that going forward. For all of you who are really just hungry for the truth, you want to obey the Creator. You want to obey the one that breathed into your nostrils instead of running behind, doing all kind of dances with the plastic Jesus and running around a Rubik's Cube over there in Saudi Arabia. When you want to know the real truth and you want to walk in the truth of the Creator, then we must go back to the beginnings and get an understanding from the beginning language, which is the Hebrew language. And this is what these scrolls are. They transliterated from the ancient Hebrew language. Yes, they are in English. No worries. They are in English, so you'll be able to read them properly. And they will really give you an understanding. Now all you have to do is take the understanding and begin to walk in it. Begin to execute the understanding, the will of the Creator. We're not talking about no religions here. We're really not even talking about a faith. We're talking about a way. W-A-Y, a way that you live every day. As Israelites, this is the way we live every day. If you're looking at me on YouTube right now, you'll notice I don't look like every Johnny Gentile that's walking in your local malls or down your streets. We Israelites are a set apart people. One thing that we do is cover our heads. Another thing that we do is we wear well trimmed and groomed beards. These are customs and traditions of the Israelite way. Now I know a lot of you have come into the knowledge and the identity of who you are. You're an Israelite. You're not with these names, these bywords that they're calling you in the nations, but you're an Israelite. So then now that you know your identity, you know who you are, now it's time for you to take the next step and begin to walk as an Israelite. Walk as our ancient Hebrews walked. Walk and pattern your life after our forefather Abraham. Everybody in society has role models, and normally it's some kind of sports figure or some kind of actress or actor. But for Israelites, our role model come right out of the scrolls, right out of the Tanakh. And what better role model to have for yourself than the father of our faith, Abraham? So we must understand that going forward as we all strive to endure to the end, as we have breath within us to continue to demonstrate and execute the government of the Most High. So in saying that, these scrolls will really, really help you tremendously and give you understanding. You may ask, well, why are they so thick? Well, it's because it's jam-packed with excellent commentary on our Hebrew way and our culture and our heritage. Not Judaism, but the Hebrew way, the way the Hebrews live. What you'll find when you get these scrolls is jaw-dropping. And it's also, I know when I purchased my scrolls, I left a comment in there that says, these scrolls and the understanding in these scrolls were like dawn. And they just took all the grease out of the way. They took the blinders off, so I can really understand the scrolls and what the Creator was telling His people to do. If you remember, even the Master Yahushua he said it himself in Matidyahu in Matthew chapter 7 verse 21, where the Master says what? Not everyone that says, Lord, Lord, is going to get into the kingdom, or Adonai, Adonai is going to get into the kingdom of the Most High. But he said what? He that doth the what? The will of my Father. This is what we need to be seeking. So to get the will of the Abba, the will of the Father, we must go back to the beginnings. We must go back to the Hebrew and get proper understanding and go back to the beginning of the books, because newsflash, surprise, surprise, the Abba never spoken what you know of as your New Testament, or what we Hebrews call the Brit Hakashah, or the renewed contract. The Most High never spoke there. So we won't find the will of the Most High there, but we will have to go back to those books that it seems like the whole world is shunning and saying and slandering and calling it old and done away with, and just for the Jews. I mean, all these phrases and kick words that are going out there that are preventing sincere individuals that just desire to know the truth from finding truth. Remember also what the scrolls tell us: you will know the truth, and the truth will what? Make you free. So there's a lot of folks that's still in bondage. Yeah, they may not be walking around with balls and shackles on their feet and hands, but they're still in a spiritual bondage. They're being held up by religions. We're being held up by their own imaginations. They're being held up by the commandments of men. And so today, this is what we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss the 10 Commandments. And where did they originate, and who are they for? I think that's very important to understand going forward. Okay, so let's look at the 10 Commandments. Every religion seems to have adopted them. They look at the 10 Commandments as some kind of holy grail. But the question going forward is who are the 10 Commandments really for? And where did the 10 Commandments originate? When you look at the Master YHWH, he mentioned the 10 Commandments in Mark chapter, he mentioned the 10 Commandments in Mark chapter 10. It was also mentioned in Luke chapter 18. But then the Master YHWH, I mean, these are just, he doesn't go in depth with the 10 Commandments, but he tells you, about the 10 Commandments and what you need to do. But did the 10 Commandments originate in what you call your New Testament or the renewed contract, the Brit Hakashah? No way. Because even the Master YHWH tells you himself in John chapter 14 verse 15, if you love me, again I'm going to quote from the Hidden Truth Hebraic Scrolls, if you love me, guard and do my commandments. Okay, well, in that verse right there, he didn't say if you love me, guard and do my 10 commandments. No, because the Master had an understanding that there are 613 statutes, laws, judgments, ordinances, and commandments for the Israelites to follow in our Tanakh. For those of you who don't know what the Tanakh is, it's the books from Genesis all the way to Malachi. These are what the Hebrews live by on a daily basis. This is our history book as Israelites to follow and to live by, and our book of instructions, you see. So again, going back to that verse, the Master YHWH there in John chapter 14 verse 15, he never said, if you love me, guard and do my 10 commandments. No, he said, guard and do my commandments. You must understand that. When you read that from the King Jimmy or the King James Version, King James will just tell you, oh, if you love me, keep my commandments. Well, you can give me a piece of pie and tell me to keep it. I mean, what's keeping something? What, you going to store it away in your closet somewhere? No, for an Israelite, you see, this is why it's so very important that you get those Hidden Truth Hebraic Scrolls. Because it's just so much in-depth meaning, and it gives you so much more action on the word. Oh, here, somebody come up to you, well, here, Kefa, keep this for me. I'll keep it. Well, I'll put it in my drawer somewhere. No, the Israelite way, the commandments are not to be put in drawers somewhere in somebody's closet. They're to be kept. They're to be done. They're to be guarded. And this is why this is so very important that we talk about these 10 commandments, is because they're not being guarded. They're being treated like something you pick up off the grocery store shelves. Oh, yeah, here are 10 commandments. Yeah, we'll do them here. No, this is not what this is. Because when you understand who the 10 commandments are really for, you'll have a better understanding of that. And then also, if you look at Mark chapter 12, verse 29, the Master YHWH, he tells you what's the greatest of all commandments. And he mentions nothing about the 10 commandments. But what does he tell you there? In Mark chapter 12, verse 29, what does he tell you? He tells you the greatest of all commands is what? Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. That's how it starts out. Hear, O Israel. He doesn't mention there, oh, hear, O Catholics. Hear, O Christians. No, hear, O Israel. You see, now it's getting personal. We're getting down to the nitty and gritty now. We're getting an understanding of who was commanded. It was the Israelites. You don't believe me? Let's go back and look at the origins of the 10 commandments. For that, it may be taboo for some of you, but you may actually have to go into what you call your Old Testament, or we call the Torah, in Exodus chapter 20. And you can begin to see who the 10 Commandments were for. And who is the God of the 10 Commandments. So let's look at that. We're going to look at it from the Hidden Truth Hebraic Scrolls. Okay, we'll read it from there. You know, I'll read just the first 2 commandments because they're the telltale signs. Okay, so very important that we do this. Okay, so we're going to look at Shemuth, Exodus chapter 20, starting at verse 1. Again, we read from the Hidden Truth Hebraic Scrolls. Elif, I am Yahweh, YHWH, your power, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt, and out of the bayith, out of the house of slavery. Wow, wow, wow. Well, tell me this. Were the Christians enslaved? Were they brought to Egypt? Who are we talking about here? It's so very important that we clue in on this. Again, we're talking about the 10 Commandments, but who are we talking about? Who are the 10 Commandments for? They're for Israel. You know, I never heard, well, oh, hear, O Baptist. You know, Shema Baptist. And again, the Shema, that hear, O Israel, that the Master Yahushua is talking about there in Mark chapter 12, verse 29, is taking us back, right back to the Torah. Right back to those books that they telling you that's done away with and old. You see? Right back to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Devarim chapter 6, verse 4. The Shema. The Hebrews recite this twice a day. This is a part of our way, our heritage. And we as Israelites, we need to start embracing it, because we're also told by Master Yah is to do what? In Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 13. Is to perform the commandments. There has to be a performance, an execution. You see all of these action verbs, the action words, these verbs. This is what needs to happen. And this is the gap. A lot of folks have an understanding of the scrolls, but not many are living them. Only few are living them. Many may understand them. Many may have read through the Tanakh, through the whole of what they call the Bible today so many times. But how many of you understand what you just read? How many of you taking action on what you just read? You see? This is not about a queasy feeling or getting goosebumps. No, the Hebrew way is a way of life. So we see right from the jump street, from the beginnings right there in Exodus, that the 10 Commandments are for a certain people. The commandments are for one God gave those commandments. To have some commandments, somebody has to speak something to you. Well, who spoke those commandments that even the Master Yahushua talks about? I have to go and always point back to the Master Yahushua, who was a revelation and a revealing of our Tanakh. It's because a lot of folks love to live in what they call the renewed contract, or what they call the New Testament. So we must talk about that. So we can do just like the Master was trying to do, is point them back to the Torah, back to the beginnings, back to the Abba. Remember that verse there in Matthew chapter 7, verse 21. Where the Master Yahushua says, not everyone that says, Lord, Lord. Now I'll tell you what, there's many churches on your son's day that are shouting and screaming, Lord, Lord, jumping up and down. You know, squirming like snakes, falling backwards, saying, Lord, Lord. But the Master Yahushua said, not everyone that says, Lord, Lord, is going to get into the kingdom of the Most High. But he that does what? The will of my Father. This is what we're to seek. For all of you that have an understanding and you seeking truth, you should be seeking the will of the Abba. Where do you find that will at? That's the question. This should be the question on everybody's lips. Where do I find the will of the Creator, the Abba? You have to go back to those first 5 books. Just like the Master Yahushua. He quoted in Mark chapter 12, verse 29, the Shema. Hear, O Israel. Shema, hear Israel. He point you right back to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. You see, we must understand that. And this is what we have to get back to. Now, we just read the first commandment. The first commandment, if you look at it from the Gentile point of view, they're going to tell you, their first commandment is going to read something like this. Do not worship any other gods. Well, no. Or sometimes they'll start their commandments like this. I am the Lord thy God. Well, you're giving me 2 titles here. I can go in England, where Rabbi Simon resides, and find many lords there. God, that's another title as well. You can make anything your God. Again, we must separate ourselves from this and get an understanding of what the scrolls really intended. And King James doesn't give you that. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the second at the second commandment given, read from the Hidden Truth Hebraic Scrolls. Bet, you shall have no other powers before me. I mean, that makes a lot more sense than what the Gentiles have going on here. You know, do not worship any other gods. Well, what's the main God? What's his name? Title too? No, don't worship another title when you're a title. No, you see, this is why. When you look at it, the first commandment, when you read it from the Hidden Truth Hebraic Scrolls, is spot on. You see, what the Gentiles want to do is they want to keep it very, very, very broad with their little 10 commandments. They don't want to get into the meat and potatoes like we did with the Hidden Truth Hebraic Scrolls. And we're told right here in Exodus Shemot chapter 20 verse 1. We're told, I am Yahweh. Well, let you know who your God is, Yahweh. I am Yahweh, your power, who took you out of the land of Mizraim. And if that wasn't good enough, right? Look at the commandment that we're given after the Shabbat. After we're told to keep the Shabbat. We're told to keep the Shabbat to do what? To remember who took you out of the land of Egypt. Who took you out of that house of bondage. This is what we're supposed to be doing every Sabbath, is to rest and remember as Israelites. You see, because the commandments were for Israelites. Now, can anyone become Israel? Absolutely, you can. You can be grafted into Israel. So, because this is no thing about, okay, you know, we want to be racial or prejudice against one person against another. No. The God of Israel only recognizes Israel. And newsflash, the whole of the Bible was written for Israel. It really was. Now, it's been taken and whitewashed and added and subtracted from. We understand that. We know that. But then you must understand that, you know, to have true rescue, which all of you want. I can query all of you that's listening right now via YouTube. You'll say, well, yeah, do you want to go to hell? You want to go to Sheol hell? Of course not. The rescue only lies in your obedience to the Creator. Your rescue only lies in you lining up and joining Israel. Because the God of the Bible is the God of Israel. His name is Yahweh. YHWH, Most High, Adonai, Elohim. You see? But we won't get caught too much up on the name. The thing that we need to be doing is obeying the name. It's performing like we're told in Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 13. You are to perform these things. Musa told the Israelites to perform the commandments. It's the performance, the execution, it's the action that's going to bring about the rescue, you see. And let's face it, it's the inaction that's going to bring about the negative side of the contract and agreements that were made with who? Made with our forefather Abraham, you see. Now, either you can be biological Abraham or you can be grafted in. No problems, no worries. You're Israel as well. So this is not just about, oh, well, they just segregating a group of people. No, it's all about obedience to Yah's voice. Keeping his commandments, his statutes, his laws, his judgments, his ordinances. And then you're going to find something quite shocking, which is, you might not find it shocking, but I find it very interesting. The word commandments is mentioned in the King James 171 times. Now, if you take 171 and you add the individual numbers up, you get the 1 plus the 7, which is 8, plus 1 more is 9. The number for 9 in numerology is the number for work. Work, it means work. Your works, your fruits. Remember what the master said, you will know them by their fruits. It's your fruits, and unfortunately, a lot of folks are not working, and this is why they're starving. You know the saying, if you don't work, you don't eat. Well, in some of these nations, they encourage you not to work, and they still gonna feed you because you're living out. Uncle Sam is your husband, you know, and he's going to feed and clothe you. But again, if you don't work, you don't eat. And we find a lot of folks that are starving. Now we're talking not physically starving maybe, but are spiritual starving. As they desire truth and they're hungry. It's because they're not working. You're not obeying the statutes, the laws, the judgments, the ordinances, and the commandments of the Most High. Now we know there are more than 10. We know that. We Hebrews understand that there's 613 laws, statutes, judgments, ordinances, and commandments for us to follow. You see? So we have to get back to obeying those to the best of our ability. For those of you who would like further understanding on this, I encourage you to come join us on the Shabbat. Find yourself a teacher, even if it's not here at African Israel. Find yourself a teacher and become a student. Find yourself a teacher that's teaching you about Yah's Torah, about the statutes, about the laws, about the commandments, about the ordinances, about that Shema. Hear Israel. Hear, O Israel. Not hear, O Catholics. Not hear, O Christians. You see, it's so very important that we clue in on the truth and get an understanding of what truth really is, because you're not going to be free until you begin to walk in that truth. And that truth is idiomatic for the Torah. Truth. T-R-U-T-H. Truth. Just like we have 5 books, those 5 books that make up the Torah. This is where the truth lies. Then we also have our Psalms and our prophets, where the will of the Most High, where Yahweh spoke, where you can find, thus saith Master Yahweh, thus saith Yahweh. You can find it there, but you can't find it in what they call the New Testament. So consider these things going forward, Mishpachah, as you continue to grow and learn, and as you continue to seek the truth and walk in it and endure in this truth until the very end, until the Most High takes your last breath. Because listen, on your day of judgment, you're going to be held accountable, not to how many old ladies you walked across the street, not to how many Girl Scout cookies you sold, but Yah is going to ask you, did you obey my voice? Not what mega church you went to, but did you obey my voice? So I'm Rabbi Kefa, and I hope this gave you a little bit of understanding. If you like further learning, I encourage you to come and fellowship with us on the Shabbat on Pal Talk. 9 o'clock my time here in Texas, a.m. on the Shabbat. And continue to grow and learn and get understanding from the Hebraic point of view and become Israel. Because that's where the rescue lies. The God of the Hebrews, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob. This is where rescue lies. So, shalom, shalom.